This is today at the Open, and I'm delighted to be joined by my colleagues Brian Keogh and Conor McKeon. Brian, let's start with your assertion on yesterday's show that not only is the Open better than the Masters, it's the greatest championship in golf, because it grew quite a response, not only from our thousands of viewers, but from the governing body itself, who made a special presentation to you this morning. We can see it here. Here you are with Gilles Wilson, being presented with a claret jug, a beautiful claret jug, short. And not only are you now the truly beautiful Brian Keogh, but I presume also an honorary member of the RNA.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Gilles been coming here since he was 9 years of age, and he's only about 50. So he's been through this a lot, and it is a wonderful honour to get a nice bit of clothing.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
I'd like to change my answer.
Tomorrow, have you heard that? Tomorrow, what colour do you want?
Anything at all.
See, that's proof of that we can all be bought. We all have a price, even Conor McKeon. Conor, let's go to where we started yesterday, because we were sitting at our desks here again this morning and again looking up at the screen, and Rory had just hit a driver off the 9th tee and had an 11-foot putt for eagle when you uttered another of your immortal lines: if he holds this, it could be over by Saturday.
Yeah, because he went I suppose he birdied 8. That was the context as well. So he was starting to move in the right direction. And if McIlroy goes birdie eagle, he starts rocking the place.
Right.
And it was interesting to hear him talk afterwards about that drive, because he's driven it twice in a row. Nobody else has kind of done that. And he said that the wind was the opposite during the week. Like, his whole game plan was just hit an iron up the top of the hill. But the way it kind of suits his eye. So yeah, he drove that. That was a beautiful drive. I mean, it even just kind of crept up on the right side of the green and left him an uphill putt. And he underhit it. And obviously his putting has been his Achilles heel this week. But in his press conference afterwards, he kind of basically said, look, I'm going to have to keep going aggressive with the driver here to get back into it. And it was good that he had already come to that realization.
Now, I do you a disservice, because I saw you were in here for the night. You actually went out with him this morning.
Yeah, we went out, and the usual hoopla around Rory. He was giving himself looks everywhere, and he was hitting greens. I haven't seen his greens and regulation stats, but I know that he had matched yesterday's total by about the 11th. So his ball striking was far better, but he just had a bit of a push today with his irons, or he was going left with his irons, and he was leaving himself 2 long putts. So the thing that's separating himself a small bit, his advantage is what he's doing with the driver. He's keeping it straight and long.
Right.
So he's going to go after everything tomorrow. He said that, and it's probably necessary, because he's not going to go around making loads of putts or stitching his wedges close to the pins.
We were in the flash area here, which is where they go after they've done all the important TV stuff. We know our place in the hierarchy here. The flash area, and there was only 16 writers waiting to hear what he had to say, and which is a reflection, I think, it's in itself of where we think he is in the tournament, but also kind of sensed as he was a bit flat.
Yeah, it was almost like he needed to be kind of convinced, or we wanted him to convince us. I think that's probably a better way of putting it. Usually when you go into those things, you've already made up your mind about somebody and whether they're trying to cod you or whether they're trying to cod yourself. I think we were all trying to figure out, is this good? Is he in a good place? He's well behind the leader, but nobody expects the leader to hang on. Let's be honest about that, because that's just the way it is. The leaderboard's a bit of a mishmash of all sorts of kind of characters, and there's going to be a lot of movement on it, and Rory is one of the golfers who can move very quickly through the field.
But you did say, judging by his demeanour, if he had to put a bet on himself, he wouldn't. To win, he wouldn't.
Yeah, and I think that's just not because of what he scored, but because of how he's playing. I don't know that he thinks his iron game or his putting is sharp enough to go as low, because he had just come in just after 2 players had gone 62 here today. 62, that's a savage score out there today, and he played it in the exact same conditions. So I think that maybe knocked a little stripe off him coming in.
Yeah. Brian, you were out with Shane, not just today but last night. Tell us what you saw today, please.
Yeah, it was a masterclass, really. Links play. I mean, he didn't put a foot wrong. I mean, birdie the first, birdie the ninth, hit it to about 18 inches. Didn't miss a green until the 11th. Got that up and down, almost chipped it in. You know, the same got up and down on the next, and then the 13th he's in the dunes, big trouble, knocks it 100 yards down the fairway, 100 yards in, 6 feet, knocks in the putt for par. You know, they're the kind of runs that you need. You know, he needs to hold a few more putts.
He did put a foot wrong. The 7th, did he not birdie the par 5?
He eventually did, drop it.
I'm pulling him up. I'm pulling him
up until that point, he hadn't put a foot, and he was. There was a little I was coming to that little fist bump. Didn't birdie okay. You know, the 2 par 5s going in. Bogeyed the 17th. Hit a great shot into the last birdie. The last. You know, so it was a great performance. I mean, 69, 68, 3 under par. He just says he needs one of those little runs of 9 holes. You know, where he holds a few more. But a bit like Rory. I mean, Rory's you know, microcosm of his day, really, his play this week is the 9th. You know, great driving.
Yeah. Didn't
hold the putt. But I think Shane is very close. He's not relaxed. He's kind of on alert, and I just get the impression that he just needs a little run of birdies.
I'll come to that in a moment. But you told me something that I was truly impressed with. Aaron Rai, the winner of the PGA Championship.
Yeah, Shane is playing with Brooks Koepka and Aaron Rai, and they're coming off the 13th. Shane has already made his par. He's walked off the green. Aaron Rai was fiddling around, eventually finished. Comes off the green. There's a little kid of about 9 years of age, you know, out with the camera. He would do a selfie, and he stops and he takes the camera and he does the selfie, and then goes chasing, sprinting after the lads. I just thought, you know, this guy.
Isn't that tremendous? You know,
beatification. I think, beatification. I think is on the cards for Aaron Rai. I think he's 271s. I think so. He probably needs to say a few prayers.
What do you think, Conor?
Oh yeah, that's great.
Lovely.
Yeah, I was watching him yesterday because I don't really know much about Aaron Rai, and like that group. Obviously, we said, you know, yesterday Lowry and Koepka know each other pretty well. Like Rai is, you know, European golf major winner, but he's never made a European Ryder Cup team. So I was interested in the dynamic. I mean, he seemed to be quite happy to kind of not stay in his own lane, but he didn't really interact with the 2 lads as much. And I don't know whether that's just in his nature or it's because the 2 lads would be friendlier. But I think it just might be kind of the way his character is, you know.
Yeah, the other 2 are neighbours, I think, in Florida. You know, they hang around together, they play golf together, and Aaron Ryan tends to be a bit deliberate as well. Mightn't be the fastest, you know, for Shane what he needs. But I know I was impressed with Shane Lowry today. You know.
Were you impressed with the press conference? Because he came into the flash area, it's even smaller crowd. Than Rory. And I mean, Bryson DeChambeau, who shot a 67 yesterday, walked off the course, walked straight by wouldn't speak to anybody, basically. A little hissy fit over some of the coverage he got. And then I walked in there listening to some of the questions that Shane was asked, and I thought, well, I don't blame him. I mean,
I think he's like he's walking on eggshells at the moment.
No, Brian. This is on us.
Yes.
I'm going to start swearing here. It was the worst thing. What do you think?
What was so bad
Were you there?
There was 2 different. There's 2 different things there. DeChambeau not speaking. That's the 5th major round in a row that he hasn't spoken.
Right.
So I don't know that there's anything about the recent coverage or anything that has happened at the Open that's affected the fact that Bryson won't come into chat.
Fair.
And he hasn't done any media, open media, since the arse fell out of the live thing.
I'm not giving him a pass, but.
Oh no. No, but I'm just making the point that I don't think it has anything to do with questions that he's been asked or anything like that.
Yeah, sure.
And I thought Shane, I suppose, I only saw the quotes of yesterday's press conference.
We were talking about this in the preview, where he stands at the moment. Now, we know where he stands.
Yeah.
He's in a difficult spot.
Yeah, he referred to it himself, in fairness, in his questions. I think
yes, he did.
There's a lot of self-awareness about.
Given we know where he stands, shouldn't that shape the questions we're asking him?
Yeah. It depends. You'd have to ask the people who ask the question. I asked him one question about 62s.
I like that.
Yeah, but he took me up.
But you weren't telling him how he felt.
Yeah. But the reason I asked him that was because I wanted to know, not what he thought of the lads shooting 62. I wanted to know whether, because I genuinely don't know whether he would look at that and go, right, that's what's out there. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't take Tiger Woods in 2000 to shoot a really low score there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought the way he spoke after the whole thing was really, really good.
Are you coming in here to win or have a good week?
But again, we're trying to elicit a response out of a fella. So sometimes I don't think going straight in.
Well, I think if you went over and gave him a smack or a kick, you'd get elicited a response out of him. But he wouldn't come back in again.
Possibly.
No. I just thought it was really appalling, absolutely
He
appalling.
hasn't put 4 rounds together really this year.
We know that, Brian.
Yeah. So
We
do you
know
think?
that.
I think
We
the
said
idea
it,
of the
we said
question.
it, we said
Yeah,
it.
sure.
We said it.
But I think
on
the idea of that
Wednesday.
question, the person who asked that question was, if you put 4 good rounds together this week, would you be happy? If you had a good performance, a strong Open Championship, and he
well,
said
if you ask a
he
2-year-old,
sort of,
he's going to say,
Sure.
no, I wouldn't be happy.
and of course Shane would say,
No,
I mean,
if I put
I'm
four-
only here to
I'd be
win.
really pissed off if I put 4 good rounds together. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We've got to do better than that.
Yeah.
That's the point. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, what I just took from him was that he talked about self-control the whole time, self-control, calculating.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
keeping
I'll
himself
tell you one
under
thing, Brian. He
control.
showed a lot of
He showed-
self-control
yeah.
because in his spot, I would have said, "Is that the best you can do, lads? You know, I'm standing here giving you a bit of time, and you're
Yeah.
just pulling this shit on me. You know, sorry, I'm not having it."
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
sometimes we gotta hold our hands up and say, "That was crap." Okay, that was crap. Now, Conor, we were sorry, I'm getting a bit heated here. Conor, we were sitting again today when when I did something I typed something I never thought I would type at a golf tournament. Because I came in from the course, ran straight to my laptop and typed, "What's bingo speak for 80 into Google?" Brian, do you know what bingo speak is?
Yeah, sort of the what is it?
The rhyming
fat
slang.
lady,
The rhyming slang.
Yeah, yeah.
The rhyming slang.
clickety click, 66, that kind of thing.
That's bingo speak.
Yeah.
Now, and the reason here's the context, right? Here's the context. So, Podrick has just finished, and if it's crazy, you can be sure Podrick is involved. So Podrick has just finished, and I hadn't seen him this week. Hadn't seen him since he won the US Senior Open Seniors. Want to go say, listen, another great week. Well done, and win the seniors. Good luck next week.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we're walking back through the media flash area, and I see Michael Bamberger waiting at the end of the ramp there. And Michael says, "Paddy, can I do one question?" And of course, Podrick has never turned down a question in his life. So Michael says, "So the guy I'm staying with this week says, oh, Paddy must be embarrassed by the 80." And I said, "No, I guarantee you he's not, because it was the best score he could make that day. You tell me where you stand on that divide." So it's Michael says, "No, that's the best score he could make." So Michael's making the point. That's the best score he could do. The fellow he's staying with saying he must be embarrassed. Okay, so this is how he frames the question. And Podrick says, "I was trying to beat the fat lady for quite a while." Okay? I was trying to beat the fat lady for quite a while. And I said, "Can you expand on that, because I'm a bit lost?" And Michael says, "If he's lost, you can imagine where I am." Then Podrick says, "The fat lady is 80, come on." And Michael goes, "Ah." And I know what Michael hasn't a fucking clue what Podrick is saying. Okay? And Podrick says, "Bingo, come on. 2 fat ladies, 88. The fat lady is 80. And I'm thinking, geez, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. I says to Michael, "You're recording this, Michael, aren't you? Because we may need it." So I ran here and I start typing in bingo speak, and 2 fat ladies is 88, and the bingo speak for 80 is 8 and Gandhi's breakfast, 8 and nothing. Gandhi's breakfast, 8
Right.
and
I didn't know
nothing.
that part,
Yeah.
yeah.
But in no way, shape or form is 2 fat ladies,
Okay.
80 in bingo speak. What chance do we have?
I don't know.
Yeah. He said he's never been embarrassed on a golf course in his life anyway. He said that before.
He did say that. Did you get a transcript of that, by the way?
No, I didn't know. I
You-
just said it. I
you must
remember him saying it, even when he had that,
Right.
mistake at the final hole in Carnoustie. Even then, he said he wasn't embarrassed.
Okay, let's finish
Yeah.
with, actually, we mentioned it, we alluded to it rather, the 2 62s, Conor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was just mad to watch. I mean,
Lucas Herbert and Sam Burns.
yeah, Lucas Herbert, a former Irish Open winner, world number 97. Not on a lot of people's picks for the week, but he played immaculate golf. And then Sam Burns, Sam Burns came out of nowhere. He held a bunker shot on 18. I think Sam Burns said in his press conference afterwards he was nearly going to skip the tournament this week because his wife is on the verge, or has recently just had their first child.
Yeah, she's just had it, I think. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's incredible. It's funny how these things happen. Like it happened in Valhalla like a couple of years ago, where you had two 62s as well, Xander Schauffele and Shane Lowry
On the Saturday,
on the
yeah.
same day. So it's mad the way that happened, because there was nobody else came in and said, oh, it's very gettable out there. You know, I'm not surprised at the 62. Everybody else was saying, look, it's Birkdale, it's hard. So like, fair dues to those men. Like, that's extraordinary golf.
Yeah.
And like, Herbert bogeyed 18. Like, I mean, that's
Yeah, because he was 8 under through 9.
yeah.
8 under through 9.
Absolutely off the charts. And you'd think like a 62, you get at least one eagle, you know, that sort of way, and you definitely wouldn't bogey any hole. But he went after it on 18, and he actually missed a sharp putt for what would have been the lowest round in a major. Like, that is off the chart stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles the heat tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, depending on what they do with the course, they could bring everybody back into it tomorrow. But judging by the scores going on in the background while we're here, nobody's going to get close to them.
Right. Brian, we had 7 Irish tin up on Thursday. How many are we going to see for the weekend?
It looks like it's probably only going to be Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy. We'll have to wait and see how Tom McKibben and David Howard finish up. But Stuart Grant's missed the cut. Great round today though, 69, 6 over. Darren Clark was going along nicely, then he was going to miss the cut, but triple bogey the last just to make absolutely sure. So 74 plus 7, and Podrick, typical Podrick, comes back today, makes 6 birdies, shoots 69. What's that in bingo speak? We'll leave that one. Shall we move
let's move
plus 9.
quickly on. Jesus, trust you to drag everything down, Brian, with your filthy mind. We'll see you tomorrow.